Today's webinar is entitled Cybersecurity Threats to Small and Medium Businesses. How real is it? What are the risks? And how do we protect ourselves? This is going to be the first in a monthly series of webinars. We're going to start at a high level and try to keep the presentations relatively short. Our goal for this session is that everyone comes away with at least a few affordable ways to reduce their cybersecurity risk exposure. So let's get started. The business of cybercrime. Ouch. So cybercrime, as we think of it, is a highly organized, well-funded, professional criminal activity, which, as we know, in some cases, are government-sponsored. Really large scale, it's big business. Interesting, our government has categorized cyberspace as the fifth domain of warfare, after the traditional land, sea, air, and space. But obviously, these types of organizations are a very low threat to us. So what I want to focus on for the next 30 minutes or so are the ever-increasing threats to the small and medium businesses. You know, there are about 15 times the number of exploits to firms of the size of 10 to 100 people than there are in enterprises. Ransomware is increasing dramatically. If you saw the article in the New York Times today, the Department of Justice said that ransomware increased 400% in 2016 alone. And the payouts for these events were 9 times increased over 2015. And they're getting more nasty if you're not aware. It used to be ransomware just encrypted files. Now it can encrypt your databases, applications, backups, and the flat files. Pretty nasty stuff, honestly. But how are they able to do this? The internet has made it very easy and affordable and requiring very little expertise to become a cyber criminal. There's now access to hacking tools and exploits as a service, ransomware as a service. They subscribe to hacking applications. They can rent servers and storage, etc., very inexpensively. And again, to reemphasize, you don't have to be a geek anymore to start hacking people. They sell something called cryptors for about 50 to 100 bucks for 6 months. They guaranteed to get your exploit code past 35 of the leading antivirus products. There's also a market called droppers. These are guys that exploit your system, but they're not interested in executing the attack. So they rent access to your systems, you know, for 6 months. Have at it. Kind of scary. And, you know, today, there are very inexpensive or free tools that are referred as SMS spoofing, which is just another name for faking, if you will. So, I mean, did you ever think about the fact that a text message might not be coming from the person you think it is? There are online markets, there's advertising, there are payment systems, there's cybercrime help desks, there's discussion forums, there's even testimonials, for goodness sake. So how are they able to do it? They're doing it through the deep web. What is the deep web? You might be surprised to know that most of the data in cyberspace, Google is not able to index. It's only a small percentage of it. So this data that's not indexable is referred to as the deep web. While within this space exists the dark web. It's an anonymous platform to facilitate communications that can't be traced. The dark web lets users access the internet with complete anonymity and communicate without being connected to their offline identities. There are good uses for this technology or this space. Law enforcement and intelligence personnel working undercover, whistleblowers, journalists covering controversial or illegal activities, but there's a lot of very bad uses. Drugs, porn, arms sales, really just about any illegal activity imagined, and of course, the business of cybercrime is thriving on the dark web. So, what we want to start with now is the essential components needed to better secure our IT infrastructures. Your network must be well managed, AD kept up to date through policies implemented for better security, granular rights management of confidential data. Patching, virus protection, backups in your firewalls need to diligently be kept up to date. You know, just, I assume everybody's aware, but I'll reiterate. Patches and updates that are released on a regular basis for operating systems and applications, for bug fixes, and most importantly, to correct security vulnerabilities. If you're ignoring this, you're not staying on top of this, the bad guys will surely exploit the vulnerability. I want to emphasize today, we feel it's real important to start using geo-IP filtering on your firewall if you're not already. What this does, there's really no reason. Why should somebody from Russia or China or any other place, say, outside of the United States, access your network through your firewall? You don't need them to. Simple to do and important to reduce your risk. And be absolutely sure you have good backups, both on-site and off-site. And you need to validate that these processes are being completed successfully. Unfortunately, last week alone, I was referred to 2 companies that were infected with ransomware. They thought their backup systems were being managed responsibly, only to find out their last good backups were 2 and 8 months old, respectively. Ouch. You know, okay, moving on. You got to have a strong spam filtering system in place and content filtering in place. You got to limit, this will limit some of your exposure to malicious email and access websites with bad reputation. Adding incremental layers of security to meet new security challenges. The security solutions of a few years ago are not enough today. Most of our clients, we recently added DNS. Chris and I are constantly looking at new things to bring in to increase your security posture. We provide and recommend everybody do at least an annual external vulnerability scan. This is to see if there are any new weaknesses in your perimeter defenses that you were not aware of. This is what the hackers are looking for, you know, it's prudent behavior. And finally, on this subject, something that we feel is really important now, remote access. We feel that 2-factor authentication is essential today. We're seeing several, in the last few weeks, we've seen several compromises of the remote access services. To remind you what 2-factor authentication is, you put in your username and password, and then you get a message on your phone or some other device, and you either enter a code or click accept, and you're in. But the bad guys can't have that if they're in Russia or somewhere, so it's effective. And with the new release of LogMeIn, you can even do that on a workstation level. It's really important. Can't emphasize it enough. The real problem, though, is us. And that's what we're going to focus on today for the rest of it. All of us. We are the risk. Why? It's a lot easier for the bad actors to attack employees than well-managed infrastructures. Understand the primary goal of hackers is to gain access to your network any way they can. From there, it's exponentially easier to achieve whatever their ultimate objectives are. Number one reason, why is it easier? We are terrible at password management. We use the same passwords many times. Strong password policies are not strictly enforced by our employers. We use easy to remember passwords that are easily stolen by brute force hacking tools. We share passwords. You know, and note that many attacks start with stolen or compromised credentials. I like this quote. So passwords and the people who create and use them will remain the biggest weakness for the foreseeable future. To be honest, I'm sorry. I wrote this down because I liked it, but I neglected to write who it was, so I can't give credit to who said that. Okay. Now I want to talk about social engineering for a while. I just want to make sure, give you a little bit of a primer because it's so prevalent. That is what ransomware is about. That is when people keep saying, don't click these links and open up these attachments that, you know, or send this money to some bank. That's all talking about social engineering. So we're going to just go through it slowly so at least it's clear in everybody's mind more. Social engineering, the manipulation to trick people and divulging confidential information or providing access to funds. And as we know, unfortunately, it works. The Verizon 2016 data breach investigations report revealed a shocking 30% of recipients open phishing messages and 12% click on attachments. You say attack? Okay, let's go through what the different types of attacks are. A basic phishing attack. These are emails that are sent to large number of people, you know, just randomly, posing as reputable sources, often with legitimate looking logos, Banks, credit card providers, delivery firms, law enforcement, the IRS are a few of the common ones. A phishing campaign shoots out a huge number of messages to the users. Most of them are people that don't use the bank, for example. But by the sheer number that get sent out, some of those people getting those messages will use that bank, and a percentage of those guys are very likely. A small word of advice just at the moment: don't unsubscribe if you see these types of messages. Don't respond to spam in any way. It's easier to delete the email than to deal with added security. Okay, now we're going to start getting a little deeper here. Spear phishing is much more focused, and the cyber criminal has done some studying up on you as the users, and they provide some form of personalization. But the real damage is done here below. It's referred to as whaling, executive whaling. This is where they target top executives and administrators with the intent of siphoning off money from accounts or steal confidential data. It's highly personalized, and they have detailed knowledge of executives and the way your business operates. Fortunately, again, last week I became aware of 2 successful whaling attacks. Okay, the FBI refers to whaling as business email compromises. It's also known as CEO fraud. Again, it's a sophisticated scam that's carried out by tricking someone into making a large wire transfer in what turns out to be a bogus account. Scary stats. In the 18 months following January 2015, the FBI reported a 1,300% rise in identified exposed losses. And look at this next. Only 4% of the funds are ever retrieved. So we are the problem. Too many people are still clicking on links they shouldn't, opening attachments they weren't even expecting, click on buttons that promise special offers or cure a virus that they don't really have, or they received an email they weren't expecting, and it had a Word or Excel document, and the first thing they want you to do is enable a macro. That's what releases the attack in Office files. Please be careful of that. Gartner, the world's leading IT consulting firm. Many of the most damaging security penetrations are and will continue to be due to social engineering, not electronic hacking or cracking. Social engineering is the single greatest risk in the decade ahead. So if we don't take care of the people, all the defenses won't matter. Security awareness training must be a part of your security strategy, and it's actually required if your industry falls under compliance regulations. No one who has gotten ransomware or a serious compromise would question the need for this. An internal staff that is educated on cyber threats can spot a phishing email a mile away and won't fall prey to CEO fraud. Effective security awareness training combined with simulated phishing attacks show employees the creative way phishing scams may present themselves has proven time and again to be very effective. I'm glad to let you know we now have an automated online program. If you're interested in discussing that, please reach out to me, and I'd love to get you some more information. The remaining few minutes, I'm going to highlight other vulnerabilities we'd like you to be conscious of. We'll go through these pretty quickly. Mobile device security. In the United States, mobile web usage now exceeds PC-based web use, and mobile device security has not kept pace with mobile device crime. The criminals are going where the money is, and that's where the vulnerabilities are. Please be aware. We think it's essential. You must have remote lock and remote wipe capabilities implemented on your device. If you do lose a device, you want to be able to protect your corporate data. If your device supports encryption, use it. I mean, Windows 10, it's standard. Let's use this stuff. Word about smartphones. Have you thought about how valuable your contact information and email is to cyber criminals interested in crafting spear phishing attacks? I think we tend to take the phone a little bit for granted, but you know, it is so easy to fool everyone if they have personal information, if they have access to social media. Please be careful. Don't trust the phone either anymore. And as I mentioned before, even text messages can be spoofed. Bluetooth, convenient, but not secure. Viruses can be spread via Bluetooth. Hackers can use Bluetooth to connect and compromise phones. Turn off the Bluetooth when it's not needed. Disable automatic pairing and set your device to non-discoverable. And of course, if you lose any of these devices, I forgot to mention, please let your IT department know right away. And by the way, when you're thinking about Bluetooth, please be aware, there's a category of Bluetooth called Class 1 that has a range of 100 meters. So you don't have to be, right next door in your room. It's a little scary. Wi-Fi hotspots, I hope everybody realizes this. Anything you send over insecure Wi-Fi may be intercepted. Always turn off Wi-Fi when it's not in use. Don't allow your device to auto-join any unfamiliar networks. Don't send sensitive information over Wi-Fi unless you're sure it's secure. I was pretty flipped to think about people are outfitting a drone with a full Wi-Fi hacking suite that would allow them to land on a roof of a home or a business or any other target they're interested in and attempt to hack the local wireless network. It's got no boundaries today. Just want to share a couple of internet security best practices and concerns. When shopping online, do you check the website security status? You gotta make sure it says HTTPS. That's one of the ways you know it's secure. And you want to see a closed padlock, which means the GeoTrust has confirmed that their security is up to date. Be aware of drive-by downloads. In the old days, if you logged on to a malicious website, you still had to click something. You had to take some action. Not today. Just getting on some of these sites runs the risk of affecting your machine. That's why they call it a drive-by. You don't even have to stop. Also want to mention, fake ads are a huge and growing problem today. They're growing exponentially. These are ads that look like they're from legitimate vendors, but when you click on them, it releases a ton of malware. And I just, on a personal note, want to make sure you're thinking about, do you have an external backup on your computer at home? It's too scary out there today. You have to be protected. The Internet of Things. Be careful, please. There's a lot of buzz about the Internet of Things, but these are simple devices. And what may not be known if you're not in this business, many of those IoT devices, Internet of Things devices, have weak or no security. Known vulnerabilities can't be patched or upgraded. These things are shipped, and that's it. Whatever on them, in them, and they're internet enabled. So if it's on your network at home, it's on your network at work, a potential problem. It's going to be a big issue in the healthcare industry, and it's going to be an issue for years. In corporate environments, it's best if these devices can be isolated on its own subnet where it won't get access to as much information. A really scary story. At Black Hat USA, that's an intense training conference for global InfoSec communities, they demoed a ransomware proof of concept aimed at IoT devices, one of which taking over control of a car's brakes and starter unit until the ransom is paid. Imagine we're starting to move into these more digital-based intelligent computers, and the bad guys can just disable your car. I find that incredulous. Okay, printers. Today's printers look a whole lot like PCs. They have hardware, firmware, and software. They access the internet. They send email, and they have network access. If you look at that copying machine on the left, it looks like there's a tablet there, doesn't it? It's a computer. 71 breaches start from endpoints. Guess what? Printers are an endpoint. Just want to emphasize the point. It's from Peter Kim's Hacker's Playbook. I probe around for a multifunction printer, see that it's configured with default passwords. Great, I'm in. You know, just about every printer, you can go on the internet and find the manual, and, you know, there's going to be a place where the default administrative password is. We should start thinking about changing those things if we're not doing them already. Another quote from him. Yes, we've compromised a number of companies using printers as our initial foothold. We move laterally from printer, find Active Directory, query it with an account from the printer, and bingo, we hit gold. HP sponsored a survey of companies around the world with 200 or more employees to gauge their level of security concern with various devices on their networks. Not surprisingly, their PC devices, 91%, mobile devices and servers at 77%, but look at printers, 18%. Do you think we can anticipate an increase in networks that got compromised by these printers? You realize the same is true with wireless printers? It's scary. Our intent for this short overview today was to just give you some areas to think about. We plan to get into a little bit more technical on protecting the data in future seminars. Have any questions at this time? We'll be happy to address them. Otherwise, anybody to no? Okay. So listen, I said we try and keep it to a half hour. I think we did. I want to thank you for attending this presentation. I would appreciate some feedback. If you liked it, what things you would like to see added to it. Any way we can help, we're going to make this kind of education an ongoing part of our practice today. Again, thank you very much.